Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And I had the distinct pleasure today of kicking off what's going to be an action-packed agenda. I am super excited to be here. This is my first Puppet Camp as a new CTO here at Puppet, and I am very excited to be part of this. This morning, I'm going to talk a little bit about accelerating the innovation journey and some of the work that we've been doing over the last few months at Puppet. But I want to start with setting some context. And this is something we've been spending a lot of time at Puppet thinking about and talking about, particularly as we look at the work that our customers are really undertaking as they start to transform their organizations. So today, a platform team that's unequipped to manage capabilities of infrastructure, and particularly infrastructure at scale, begins to be a bottleneck on all of the initiatives for a company. So it's not just, one or two things that this slows down, but it's a myriad of things. And this is especially true for ongoing time-sensitive challenges like security and compliance. However, I believe with the right tools, platform teams can become catalysts. And because so much of our businesses today depend on infrastructure, these teams aren't just catalysts for overcoming technology problems and challenges, but these teams can really help achieve objectives across the breadth of the business, reducing overhead and expenses, helping drive and achieve consistent compliance, and ultimately driving additional value for customers. So why do so many customers continue to bet on Puppet? And I'll be honest, I'm very bullish on Puppet, and I get excited when I get to talk about Puppet and the amazing momentum we have. And so when people ask me, why are you so excited about Puppet? Why did I join Puppet? Well, I really wanted to join a company that was, one, the leader in DevOps. Puppet founded the movement that we now talk about as DevOps. In fact, we also have the longest running and largest body of DevOps knowledge globally. You all know that is the State of DevOps report that continues to have over 30,000 people that contribute to it and many millions more that benefit from the learnings. We also have the largest automation community with over 75% of the commits come from our community. And we really, this was part of our heritage and our legacy, but it also continues to be our wellspring of innovation with over 6,500 modules on the Forge. And that continues to drive millions of downloads every year. And today we have over 40,000 users that benefit from Puppet technology around the world every single day. And finally, we're the market leader. To quote a recent Forrester Infrastructure Automation report, Puppet's solution is the best for those looking to expand task automation while tightly integrating with DevOps workflows. At the end of the day, it's great to see that, for Puppet, we continue to build on both the fantastic legacy and the heritage of where we began, but more importantly, as we start to look at where we're going, what does that need to look like? So today, organizations have to address a variety of concerns when it comes to infrastructure. And I typically summarize these concerns as scale, heterogeneity, and the pressure to act fast. Historically, these have been contradictory goals, a zero-sum game in which progress along one dimension comes out the cost of others. But with DevOps and a growing set of sophisticated tools, this is no longer the case. Scaling automation can be challenging, especially as the complexity around this and the environments that we have to manage continues to grow and expand. And while many organizations have really started to embrace DevOps practices at their core, they're starting to run in some of these obstacles as they scale those teams, and they'll scale those teams across the breadth of the organization. And so we're seeing more and more organizations that are turning to self-service platforms to help with that scale. In fact, by 2023, as many as 90% of enterprises will fail to scale DevOps initiatives if they're not creating a shared self-service platform. So today, even though the Global 5,000 are already operating at a massive scale, the consistency of that DevOps practices still remains a bit of hit or miss for many organizations. And this is further complicated by the challenge of scale, which has always been complex and grows even more so as we start to add in new tools, new technologies, and start to think more broadly around what does our infrastructure environment look like? And this trend continues, with Gartner estimating that a full 75% of large enterprises will adopt either hybrid or multi-cloud strategy by 2021. So it's next year. Finally, and this is really fundamentally changing the landscape of environments that we have to manage and the complexity of the tools necessary to do that. And finally, we can't forget that all of this is happening under enormous pressure to make it all happen quickly, fast, in an ever-changing world. And it makes, for many organizations, you start to conclude that maybe scaling for the future is a luxury beyond reach. Gartner reports that IT organizations spend 66% of their resources on just day-to-day operations. Those keeping the lights on activities. In fact, from our recent State of the Work survey, we found that workers spend 40% of their time on just admin tasks, running the business, not growing it, changing it, or driving innovation. And so as we look at the landscape today, businesses need a way to balance both the pursuit of a strategy that drives those short-term gains, but also continuing to keep an eye on those long-term visions, those long-term goals of changing and driving innovation. The value of any business lies in what it can do, and that makes application delivery a top priority. But many teams play a role in achieving this outcome. Security specialists, compliance experts, on-prem teams, cloud architects, platform architects, many more. And each of these teams are under unique pressures to work faster, accomplish more, and often with less people. That means today's enterprises need an enormous set of tools to keep up with the demand. Applications, services, APIs, hybrid cloud strategies, and so much more. And contrary to conventional wisdom that a mass migration to the cloud is making everything simpler, that's not the fact. In fact, I believe that it's really causing additional complexities when you're starting to really have to balance both on-prem solutions, which still remain an active part of most IT portfolios, but also what does it look like in a public cloud and managing the hybrid state of workloads across those different infrastructures. So this continues just to complicate the IT footprint even further. Today, though, in such a complicated environment, every goal seems harder to reach. Security, for example, while it continues to remain a priority and is urgent, it continues to really, struggle with managing that with speed. More and more organizations are starting to embrace DevOps to overcome this challenge. More organizations are integrating security into the development cycle from the very beginning and ensuring that it remains integral throughout, which I think we'll all agree is the best way to approach security, is really making it part of the process, part of the pipeline from the beginning to the end, as opposed to really starting to try to add it on at the end of the pipeline. So how are organizations managing this today? With infrastructure as code, even worldwide networks of infrastructure can be managed and run like software. With widespread automation, policies can be amplified and controlled with precision. And finally, self-service. And I talk a lot about self-service, but really bringing those agile principles to the front and center and making it possible to drive more creative application development at a faster pace, but also being more responsive from a security and a compliance standpoint. In fact, here's a few examples of companies that are doing this today. First is Transurban. It's a top 15 Australian publicly traded company. This company owns and operates 17 toll roads with 8 new roads to open over the next 5 years. With over 2,000 employees around the world and more than 100,000 different disparate aspects of technology involved in road management, Transurban was really struggling to figure out how to pull all of these things together. Transurban really turned to DevOps with the goal of increasing automation, driving scale, ensuring high availability, and giving themselves the opportunity to shift and have that flexibility based on changing demands. Transurban, with a combination of Puppet Enterprise, VMware, ServiceNow, and many other tools, was able to create a self-service infrastructure, provisioning, as well as an admin really having that administration oversight, and ultimately automated all of the on-prem platforms, while at the same time integrating a complex new tech stack. Another example is the New York Stock Exchange. It's part of the Intercontinental Exchange, which owns 23 exchanges and marketplaces, as well as 5 different central clearinghouses. On top of that, the New York Stock Exchange faces the same pressures to drive innovation as everyone else. They just have to do it under pressure that few will ever experience. Specifically, the New York Stock Exchange needed to scale up their workloads and infrastructure, but do it in an efficient and cost-effective way, and were routinely held up by slow provisioning processes that really slowed things down and slowed down their ability to deploy applications. After investing in tools and technologies to help them drive that automation, New York Stock Exchange was able to drive server provisioning to 144 times faster, giving developers more time for actual development work, enabling the admin team to be more productive, and more than doubling the number of servers each admin was able to manage. With Puppet, they were also able to make sure that security updates were fast and consistent. And at the end of the day, particularly in a highly regulated environment like the New York Stock Exchange, making their auditors happy because they were able to leverage Puppet Enterprise to drive that consistency. And finally, last but not least, the Guardian. Like many enterprise organizations around the world today, the IT services team at Guardian Life supports a plethora of applications, as well as an immense technical debt for a very large and very broad 159-year-old company. So the team embarked on an accelerated migration to the cloud, and they had to balance that with the fact that they were also highly regulated with so many security and compliance constraints. Puppet was able to help Guardian Life migrate more than 200 applications to the cloud in less than 2 years, allowing them to dramatically reduce their data center footprint. And this included setting up, managing, and reporting on more than 2,000 AWS services. And the Guardian Life was able to leverage Puppet Enterprise to also standardize their EC2 instances and secure their operating system controls. So this is a few examples of how several of our customers are using Puppet to change the way they work, to change the way they run their businesses, and to allow themselves to be more competitive, more agile, and at the end of the day, provide themselves that flexibility. One of the privileges I get as CTO here at Puppet is to spend time thinking about our product portfolio and where are we going and what are we doing. And today, Puppet's able to support our broad range of customers, which you've just seen a few, and their ever increasing complex requirements through an innovative product portfolio. Our portfolio that started with Puppet Enterprise, which continues to be the bedrock of which everything else is built, now includes products like continuous delivery for Puppet Enterprise, Remediate, Bolt, and new products like Relay. And all of this is built on top of a strong open source foundation that still remains important to us today, and a deep connection to our community and surrounding ecosystem through Forge. However, as we look to the future, we see one that offers our customers comprehensive automation, delivering compliance and intelligence at scale, and ultimately leveraging the right tool for the right job, be it task-driven, model-driven, or event-driven, ensuring deep interoperability with a broad range of technologies and services, and continuing to drive automation for our enterprise customers today, as well as in the future. For many of the world's biggest enterprises, Puppet has been the driving force in their journey to dramatically cut costs, achieve compliance with ever-changing regulations, and ultimately transform their commitment to security. Our vision at Puppet is to continue to help our customers leverage automation at scale and help them power their companies into the future. Thank you.